Tonight, the Prince of Wales is celebrating the achievements of leading African conservationists by attending the 12th annual Tusk Conservation Awards in London. Now, Prince William has been involved with the charity since 2005. It was one of his early patronages because he has a huge passion for conservation and also looking after wildlife rangers. Now, we have spoken to the chief executive of the conservation charity Tusk, Charlie Mayhew OBE, who spends a lot of time with Prince William, both in the United Kingdom and as well as Africa, to chat to him about the awards and Prince William's involvement. So Charlie Mayhew, welcome to GB News. First of all, it's the 12th annual Tusk Awards tonight. The Prince of Wales is, of course, going to be supporting, as he has done since the awards launch. What do you hope the awards are going to achieve this year?
Well, as ever, we're very much looking forward to this evening when we really look to shine a spotlight on what we call the sort of the unsung heroes of conservation working across Africa. And this year, we've got three fantastic individuals who have just done extraordinary work, over the last few years. And so it's time to recognise them and their achievements, really.
And many of the winners from the past, since 2013, when these awards have launched, have actually kind of scaled up the work that they do in Africa and has a positive impact on conservation. Just talk me through how we get from the awards ceremony day to scaling up their conservation work.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, this evening, having sort of shone a spotlight on them here in London, what often happens is that they gain huge interest within their own countries and recognition in their own countries for the work that they do. And that we've found has really helped to accelerate, their conservation activities within their own country. And not only that, they join basically a really influential alumni of the Tusk Awards, where we, as an organisation, bring them together with their previous winners over times to collaborate and to exchange ideas and solutions that can help each other. So it's a very powerful sort of group of individuals that we bring together.
And Prince William will be presenting three of the awards this evening. One of the awards is actually named after him. How did that come about?
Yeah, so when we came up with the original idea, which was over many years ago, sort of over an informal supper when Prince William very kindly came down to visit the Tusk office, we pitched the idea of creating some sort of awards, and we felt that it was appropriate to have a sort of lifetime achievement award within the mix, and that we asked him whether he would be happy for that to be named after him, which of course he was. So it's a recognition of a lifetime of work.
And of course, Tusk has been going since the 1990s, or 1990, I believe, and there was a huge poaching crisis in the 1980s. Where have we got to now? What's the status of conservation in Africa and protecting these vulnerable species, thanks to Tusk's work?
Well, you're absolutely right. The poaching crisis and the illegal wildlife trade crisis of the 80s, which also rolled into the 90s, I shall add, and sadly continues today, but at a slightly different level, was the stimulus for me founding the charity back in 1990. I think people are very familiar with the ivory trade and the shocking images of elephants being decimated. But of course, the illegal wildlife trade spreads across a full spectrum of endangered species, from rhino to pangolin, as well as endangered plants as well. And we and our conservation partners across Africa have been working, incredibly hard to try and contain this. And it's something that has been a particular interest to Prince William, and through his work with United for Wildlife, he has established the financial task force and also a transport task force to really try and follow the money and to try and break the chain for these illegal products moving across the world and to the marketplace.
Yeah, and you mentioned United for Wildlife, and I believe we were both in Cape Town earlier this year at the summit for United for Wildlife, where Prince William unveiled some of that financial support, particularly the life insurance for the families of rangers who unfortunately lose their lives in the most horrific circumstances, trying to protect these creatures. I got a sense, I don't know if I'd like your thoughts on this, but I got a sense from Prince William there that he really is passionate and is almost angry, really, about the state of what some poachers have to go through and what their families are left with.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right that this is something that is he's very, very passionate about. He's very knowledgeable on, and we were delighted to use the United for Wildlife Global Summit in Cape Town to launch our Ranger Welfare and Standards Initiative, which is being backed not only by Tusk but by also the Royal Foundation, who've been very generous in their support. And this initiative really is centered around trying to roll out the access to adequate accident, evacuation, medical, and life insurance. So it's an all-encompassing insurance product for rangers working on the front line of conservation. Unfortunately, far too many of them lose their lives. Over 1,400 globally have lost their lives in the last 10 years, and more than half of those losses are in Africa. And in addition to people losing their lives, many of them get very badly injured or disabled, either in their fight, with when they come into contact with poachers, but also, of course, it's a dangerous job in its own right, just walking through the bush, with dangerous animals, and the sort of the diseases like malaria and so on that some of these rangers, can catch. So this initiative is very much about trying to provide a far greater benefit to a sector that traditionally is not well insured. Far too many of these rangers have had no form of cover at all. So we're delighted to have launched this initiative.
Absolutely, and Prince William has been patron of Tusk since 2005, one of his earliest, really, and he's had the chance to experience some of this for himself, hasn't he, with you, with Tusk, over the years in Africa?
Absolutely. We've been very pleased to be able to host him in Africa on a number of occasions. I'm quite sure he'd like to go out there more often. He loves the continent and its people and its cultures and obviously the wildlife. But yes, we've been very lucky, that we've done a number of trips where he's been able to get, into the field to really see the work for himself and witness the impact of what the charity is doing.
And do you think he hopes then to go out there again with Tusk to Africa and experience some of the work that's going on right now?
Well, he never needs any encouragement, but of course he has a very busy schedule and diary nowadays. He's obviously just been in Cape Town, and he met rangers during that particular trip. But he knows that he has an open invitation from our side. It's just a matter of whether we can fit something into his schedule.
Yeah, of course. And Prince William comes from a long line, really, of conservationists, with his grandfather, Prince Philip, the King, then Prince of Wales, of course, with Prince Charles. And I suppose one day he'll hope to pass on that knowledge and passion for conservation to his children.
Yes, I'm quite sure that he talks to them about it, and as he does about all of the causes that he holds so dear, and hopefully, one day he'll have the opportunity to introduce them to Africa himself.
And Prince William, behind the scenes with Tusk, is, of course, as you mentioned, he's got a very busy schedule, so actually getting out to Africa perhaps isn't as frequent as he would like. But do you get the sense that he is keeping up to date with the work that's going on behind the scenes?
Very much so. He is quite often in contact, just sort of privately, really, and often will flag up something to me or the team, that he's seen or he's heard and wants to have a comment on. And likewise, we keep him posted on the developments with the various projects and initiatives that we're supporting, in particular the work of the award winners. He always takes a very great interest in the Tusk Award winners and what they're up to. So he absolutely keeps his finger on the pulse.
And he'll be meeting 3 of those award winners tonight, won't he, Charlie? Just explain to me who they are and what they've achieved this year.
Yeah, so we've got 3 fantastic individuals from Rwanda, Sierra Leone, and Mali this year. So the Wildlife Ranger Award is a chap called Claver Ntoyinkima from Rwanda, and he works in Nyungwe National Park. He has had a lifetime of being a ranger and is well known within Rwanda for being an expert on birds, actually, in particular, and has really helped to guide environmental education amongst the Rwanda people as well. So he's a fantastic choice. And we've got Edward Aruna from Sierra Leone, and he is a marine and turtle and amphibian expert, working to save and protect 5 different species of turtles along Sierra Leone's coastline. And then the Prince William Award winner this year is a man called Nomba Ganame from Mali. He has worked in a particularly remote part of the Sahel where there is a remnant herd of elephant, which is numbering about 300 to 400 only left. And he's working with the communities across this area. It's about 60,000 square kilometers that he's working across to create a sort of bio reserve, amongst, I think it's 16 different communities have come together to support the survival and the protection of this habitat, this crucial habitat for these elephant. But sadly, as I think a lot of people will know, Mali, is a difficult country politically at the moment. It's got a real issue unfortunately, with jihadists operating in some of these areas. So the work that Ganame is doing is remarkable and really speaks to his courage.
Gosh, some very important and dangerous work in some cases, as you just mentioned. And Charlie, just finally, Tusk has obviously been going since 1990. Where do you hope it will be, and where do you hope the world will be by 2030 when it comes to conservation?
Well, certainly, 2030 is one of those sort of milestone dates that I guess a lot of organisations sort of, put in the sand as to, what can we achieve by then. And certainly for us, it's all about trying to obviously raise, significantly more money than we do now to keep growing our revenue so that we can invest more heavily in the work across Africa. But in terms of a sort of conservation vision, it's really about trying to hang on to the habitat that wildlife exists in, both forests and savannas across Africa, because these areas are actually crucial to helping to mitigate climate change as much as, holding what is a precious natural resource for these African countries, and is responsible for generating significant GDP in terms of tourism and other revenues. So for us, it's about hanging on to the habitat. The pressure from the human footprint, inevitably right across the world is a challenge that, as to how we hang on to these environments, these very, very precious environments.
Okay, Charlie Mayhew, the Chief Executive of conservation charity Tusk, thank you for joining me.
Not at all. Thank you.
I'm Cameron Walker, and don't forget to subscribe to GBN Royal.